The UK's next Prime Minister will be chosen by 0.2% of the nation. Voters in the UK are about to pick but in this election, a self-selecting group of 160,000 people, just 0.2% of the electorate. That's because in the UK, when a Prime Minister quits, as Theresa May did over Brexit, there isn't necessarily a general election. In the country's in this case, the people charged with picking between, or safe pair of hands challenger Jeremy Hunt, are the aforementioned 160,000 members of the Conservative Party, and they start receiving their ballot papers this weekend. So, who exactly are they? Conservatives have a reputation for being out of touch and moneyed. However, while they might be a diverse group in terms of their backgrounds and approach, they are far from representative of the UK in 2019. Their political views are also at odds with the nation at large, and even with the Conservative lawmakers sitting in the House of Commons. Of course, the most important issue in the UK right now is Brexit. And it's been a matter since 2016. The membership's view on Brexit has shifted significantly. Lauren McEvitt believes that the shift began with David Cameron misunderstanding why so many of his own wanted to leave the EU. This has affected the contest to replace May next month. Stuart Graham, winning over the members might be useful for now, but any new Prime Minister will likely have to pivot when they actually take office. While both Hunt and Johnson claim that they plan to reopen Theresa May's tortuously negotiated Brexit deal, the EU has said that's simply not an option. And while both say, this is where things get spicy, the wider public and before you say, yes. So, while 0.2% of the population might well install their Brexit hero Boris Johnson next month, or Jeremy Hunt, who has an equally complicated Brexit stance, the ultimate victor might be drinking from a poisoned chalice. And, if they
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park,